What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So this episode I'll be working on the radiator shroud. Technically I started to work on it earlier this morning. Well, I wanted to do the mold layout and see how I'm gonna do that. Then stuff kind of started happening and I don't have any footage, so I better start now. Alright, so here's the inside part. This is of course fiberglass. By far, fiberglass is one of my favorite things to work with, even though I've only used it like twice. It's by far one of my favorite things to work with because you could pretty much shape it to whatever you want, but it's also one that I don't like to work with because, it's messy. All I did, and hopefully this thing works, I actually wrapped up the semi shape that I want with plastic, and it should hold this up. And yeah, hopefully it kind of works out. Otherwise, I'm not sure how I'm gonna do the mold in this thing. Now for this particular one, I'm probably just gonna set you guys down to one of the corners somewhere, because I'll be working with fiberglass. That means my gloves will be super messy and I don't want to get my camera gear messed up. Alright guys, what a mess. Look at this. So the first batch I did, I totally put way too much hardener. So about halfway through, this thing hardened up and couldn't use it. And in the second batch, well, I had this left over. Not great. And then I managed to spill some. But here's the product. Looks alright. I think it's in the right shape though, so that's all that matters. I have a lot of shards here. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's like little shiny little needles. I also got it in my shorts, which is, yeah, that's the beauty of working with fiberglass. I'm being sarcastic. But this thing is on there. Not the prettiest looking thing, but it should be good. What I need to do now is actually take it off, and then from there add more layer, kind of strengthen it a little bit. It should be hard enough to hold its shape, except maybe the sides here, but I think it'll be good. Just remember guys, this is just to keep the air out, so not to worry about it being super strong or not being strong enough. Just has to keep the air out. Now hopefully I planned this out right, that when I take it off it doesn't just rip apart in pieces. Alright guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and trim this up a little bit and then probably put like a couple more layers in there. Alright guys, looks dry enough, feels dry, not tacky. Well, this little corner right here is still tacky, but I think it's dry enough. Yeah, it's good enough to trim. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna trim it and then kind of, I guess, test fit it afterwards. Alright guys, you gotta check this out. So I test fitted it. Look at that. It's not the prettiest, but it's on there pretty good. Nice shape. Look at this. Nice and flush. So there shouldn't be any air coming in from the bottom there, or escaping from the bottom. Check it out from the inside. Look at that. Nice, sealed. So all I need to do is drill little holes, and I'll put like a removable or quick disconnect kind of rivets, and that should in theory keep all the air out, or stop the air from coming in. So surprisingly turned out well. Alright, the downside, this side right here, or this little corner right here, I will need to trim this a little bit more, and I'll probably just mark it up actually right now, that way I know where to trim. But for the most part I think it looks good, looks solid. There is a little bit of a gap here. That's kind of the downside, I guess, of not having a full mold on. But I'll probably end up having or putting a like a foam spacer in there just to keep everything else out. So that should be good. Now I'm gonna go ahead and mark it with everything, or with a marker, and that'll be it, guys. After I mark it up, I'm gonna go ahead and trim it solid, trim those little edges, probably finish it or grind it down a little bit. That I will have to figure out how to do, or where to do it, because fiberglass is not very friendly, to say the least. Alright, so here it is partially cleaned up. I didn't paint it, as you guys can see here, because I actually ran out of resin. If you look here, this side is really thin. I want it to be a little bit thicker, like this right here. I didn't realize that until after I was done. So I need to buy some resin, but for the time being, I did mount it there, and 2 more on the top, and I'll show you guys that in a little bit. On the bottom here, I do have some, bought one of this foam window seal, so it's pretty much sealed all the way around. I also put some on the side here and this side right here, so that should be good. And again, the 2 bolts on the top. I have enough space to open this up if I need to, and then I don't know, I gotta figure out how to clean this up a little bit and seal it up a little bit more. I did have to relocate this a little bit, so now I gotta redo this one right here, but it's not that big of a deal, so that's not a problem. But with that means everything that's coming into the radiator is now fully sealed. Now I gotta work on the back end right here. I will be strengthening everything up, so I'm aiming for like at least 1/4 inch maybe, and then I'll probably break into a lot of the ones that have air bubbles in them, or maybe not. You know, not that big of a deal if it has air bubbles, because it's just a shroud. So the other thing that I'm thinking about is remaking this all together. I just wanted to try it with the trash bag and see if that would work, and it seems like it would. So I have an idea of how I could do it the next time around. So if I decide to remake it, I will. If not, I'll just reinforce this and then call it done. Alright, so it's a different day, and I was finishing up the template for this thing right here. This is gonna be a, I guess, 1, 2, 3, 4 piece. So this will be a 4 piece. This is gonna be the top cover, which is a single piece on its own, and that will be a single piece. This will be a 2 piece right here, because I can't put 1 piece in there for space reasons. Now that should route all the air on the side, or block all the air from coming down or from going on the side. And then this thing right here that's gonna sit in the top will just route everything downward. And then that should be it. I basically already started, or basically already put the bolts in the side. Those holes have been drilled. This one also, I'm gonna leave that one later, and I'm gonna leave that one afterwards. But those are ready to go. So what I need to do now is actually take out this template and see if I can find an aluminum piece, you know, my storage of aluminum piece that could potentially be working, or could potentially be used for this thing. So this will be held down by 3 bolts, and that's what it should look like. This thing, guys, this thing is super useful. Look at that. Put 2 in there and then 2 on that side, so definitely one of a really good investment right there. Alright, for my OG guys, those who followed me before this project, you guys will probably recognize that a lot of this are from the Chevy Vega that I had. If I could fit this somewhere else, I could probably fit these 2 as the top piece. Do not want to make a mistake where the holes are. Alright guys, so test fitted the thing, drilled some holes for the bolt, so 2 bolts there and then 1 over here. Feels pretty solid. There's not a whole lot of gap, which is good. Any little gap like that I'll fill in with a foam anyway, so not too concerned about it. That's if I think I actually will end up needing it. I don't think so. I think it'll be fine without it. So that's the first one. I still need to trim it out for a little bit, but before I do that, I'm gonna start working on the other side. Alright guys, I'm gonna call it a night, but let me show you where I'm gonna end this episode. So the passenger side, both of them are pretty much bolted. Well, I will add one more bolt right there just to hold this together, but that will be done. For the driver's side, I just need to trim that, and that's good. And then the last thing I need is just a cover on the top. So I went to my local Home Depot and tried to find some aluminum sheet. Well, they were out of stock, at least the one that was close by to my house. I did find this copper one, which actually looks really nice. Let me know what you guys think. Kind of adds a different look to it, which to me looks really good. Now the nice thing about this is this thing is a lot more flexible than the one I was using here. So as you guys can see on the side here, I was actually able to bend it up, so it's nice and flush there. So that means all the air that gets routed here is gonna go straight down. I did add a couple bolts here, so 2 here. Ooh. Looks like I might need to add one more there. Yeah, I'll probably end up adding one more on each side. And then you have the 2 on the top right there. Everything else is pretty solid, which is good. And then also an update, I did modify this because I'm gonna be adding an overflow tank for track requirements. But for the top here, that's pretty much done. Now here's what it looks like in the bottom. Again, just 2 bolts right there on the side so you guys can see. Everything else looks pretty good. Now here, it does kind of look like you might have a hard time getting some air. So in the near future, I'll probably add some sort of scoop. One that goes this way and then the other one that vents everything to the back. So we'll essentially push out air to the top and then kind of create a vacuum here in the back. Either way, I think it'll be fine without it. At least it didn't seem like I had an issue before, so I think it'll be okay. Now on the front here, the coilover is out again, as you guys can see right there, because apparently I forgot to put a washer, which I don't think is that critical, but because it was kind of recommended to have this thing and it kind of came with factory, I'm gonna put it back. Now I did end up ordering a different mount from 034 Motorsport. This thing feels a lot more solid than the one I got for like 12 bucks from my local AutoZone. I did already replace this one, and I'm gonna go ahead and replace this side right here. Now this one will be pretty quick. It's just kind of bolt on and go, so at least now that I know how to do it. Alright guys, so that is gonna be it. I'm gonna put that back together, and then I think that basically is it for the car, because I can actually now check off the fan shroud, so that's good. PCM mount, not that critical. I am now trying to find a shop that could dyno my car, because while there are a lot of tuners that deals with LS, not everybody, or I can't find one that has an all-wheel drive dyno, at least. Still kind of looking. So once I put the car back together, I'm gonna go see how I'm supposed to set up my boost controller, because it's electronic boost controller, which requires setup. Gotta figure that out, and then I'll probably do a boost leak test just in case to see if I have any leaks. And then that's it. And then I'll start driving around and see if I can get it tuned, or see if I could tune it myself while I'm looking for a tuner to tune the car. So that is it for this episode. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.